Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. Wherever you are on our amazing planet, I'm Ariel.
I'm Shya.
Welcome to being here. Celebrating 15 years
Yes,
of
indeed.
being here. Well, we've been here longer. You've actually been here longer. We've all been here an eon, as long as our family line has gone, but this particular podcast has been going for 15 years. And before we say anything else, just a shout out to all of the guests, all of the people who've produced, the people who've helped us put together topics, the Voice America Network who got us going, Cheryl Haldy, who originally reached out to us all the year, everybody who's put anything into this, and most especially all of our listeners for making it a success for all these years. So shout out and thank you to everyone.
Otherwise, we would, for the past 15 years, have been speaking to ourselves out there.
I'm going to read the description.
Read it.
Whether it's commuting to work, drinking a cup of coffee, making dinner, or making love, if you're here for it, it's always new. It's not just a song lyric, it's an experience. Join us on this 15th anniversary edition of Being Here and experience your world anew.
It only takes an instant, you know. In German, they call it an Augenblick, the blink of an eye. But it doesn't take long if you let go of the story of your life and drop into your experience of living, then life is magical.
You know, your experience of living is not comparative. I mean, as I was preparing today to tune in here with you all, or it didn't require a lot of preparation. It required, clicking the links. But I recalled when we first did the Being Here podcast and the amount of effort that went into it and the scripting and the challenges. And with this much experience, more than 700 episodes worth, there's a level of ease and trust. And yet, I imagine if I were to go back and listen to some of those early episodes, there would be a quality that resonates today. So it feels like the first time in that we are here today. So it's new, but it doesn't have the first time jitters that we had in our very first episodes.
Well, it's worked out. It's worked out every time we've done it. So it's not like it won't work out. We work, it works. So whatever we're doing works. When people don't realize that their lives are working, they think they have to get somewhere better and improve to be okay. But you can be okay in this moment, even if there's some physical stuff going on in your body.
I was recently with somebody and I was very taken how they have some specific life challenges and how hard this individual works to keep them in place. And I was very careful to not express an opinion that he or she should operate differently and let go of those life challenges.
Well, you didn't give them an opinion to resist.
Because I realized that
They've worked hard to get it that way.
That's right. We've all worked to have our lives turn out the way they are in this moment. Now, mind you, anything you resist, don't want, try to change, you keep in place. And anything you allow to be exactly as it is, completes itself in an instant.
If you're listening to this podcast for the first time, first off, our approach is not psychotherapeutic. So we're not trying to fix or change you. Secondly, listening, the act of listening is enough to transform your life if you actually listen. If you think you know what we're going to talk about, if you think you've heard about listening from our point of view in the past, then you won't listen and you won't get the benefits that listening makes available, called pulling you into the current moment of your life. See, if you agree or disagree, you're passing what's being said through what you already know. If you allow what's being said to come into you, you may discover a whole new universe of possibility.
You said something, you said, if you're listening to our podcast for the first time, we're all listening to this podcast for the first time if we're here.
Agreed.
You may have listened to other episodes. You may have even listened to this episode if you're catching it now in the archives. But I've discovered something recently. Shya and I have a very large Audible library of audiobooks. And one of the things that we've been doing more recently is listening to books we've heard some time ago. And I really enjoy hearing the nuances of the books. And it's often surprising how much of the plot and the details I didn't retain, or I may not have even heard the first time. When you're here, it's all new. Should we take our first guest?
Let's.
Excellent. Welcome, Micah, to being here. Please tell people where you're zooming in from today.
Hello, I'm Micah and I'm calling in from Hamburg in Germany.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
I just was very touched by the title when I signed in for the podcast, but I was touched today because I felt it was so true. I experienced something that was a good example for me, and I got some cake today. I got some cake for my husband. He is in quarantine at the moment, and I was very busy thinking I wanted to prepare a good meal. And I went food shopping yesterday to the market, and I bought everything to prepare the meal. And then I kind of didn't listen to him that he really dreamt of a cake. And because I was just so sure that my meal would be a super good meal. And then all of a sudden I stopped my cooking activities, and I got to the bakery, and I got a very nice piece of cake for him and me. And he was so surprised. And I was myself, because I sometimes I sometimes feel like I can be very much caught into the circumstances, and I forget that it's so easy to just jump into the car and get a piece of cake. And it feels like the first time offering a cake and enjoying it. And I just noticed that happens very easily for me, that I'm drawn by circumstances, or it feels to me that I'm very much occupied by my work, especially my work that I love and that I occupy myself with, but I sometimes forget to call people or get a piece of cake or just do little things. And when I do them, I feel it gives me so much energy, and it feels like the first time. It feels easy when I do them, but I don't often do that. That's my impression.
Well, you think you're getting lost in the circumstances. Perhaps you're using the circumstances as a shield or a buffer. Because as you were talking about your husband who's in quarantine, I'm assuming he either is exposed or had the coronavirus, but when he said, I want cake, what came between you and hearing that is, you know better. You have an agenda of what a healthy meal is, and healthy is what he needs to get better.
Right. Yeah, true.
I have a feeling a lot of times they have a statement in the United States that says you keep your own counsel, meaning you ask yourself a question, you counsel yourself, you should get him healthy food to get him better faster, and then you keep that. And other things like, here I am in quarantine, I'd really like a piece of cake, it would make me happy. It shunts it away, it buffers it, because you already have your own agenda and forward momentum.
Yeah, that's what I notice. And I have to say, that's what I don't like.
Well, I was going to ask the question, is this a good thing or a bad thing?
If you don't like it, are
It's
you
gotta be a
reinforcing it?
bad thing.
Am I what? Sorry, I didn't get that.
Are you reinforcing it?
Meaning make it stronger, or?
Yes.
I guess so, yeah.
Well, it comes down to working on yourself doesn't work.
Having a forward momentum and keeping your own counsel has worked very well for you. It's part of what's kept you in business. It's kept you viable even during the coronavirus pandemic. A lot of businesses went out of business. You weathered it. So it's not a bad thing. It's just something that you can manage. If you want to slot it into a bad category, you've jumped right into change. Oh, good, bad, right, wrong, rather than noticing, oh, look, I'm not listening. I have an idea he should eat healthier, and I know better.
Yeah, you're right. I'm on the change train because I see it and I would like to have it different. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, anything that you want to have different, you get stuck with. Anything that you're willing to have be the way it is can complete itself. But it can't complete itself if you don't like it, don't want it, would rather it be different. Because life shows up exactly as it does.
You said something that caught my attention, though, Micah. You said, I'm very happy at work. Well, my experience is that happiness, for instance, the experience of happiness is a holistic reality. So if I am, in fact, you're wearing glasses right now. I know our listeners can't see them, but it's like looking through the lens of happy. And so if you turn your head and you're suddenly not happy with your husband, but you're happy at work, somehow there's a disconnect. For me, I'm either content or I'm not. And it's not like one area of my life sucks and everything else is fine. Somehow, when that happens, I'm reminded of when I was working on one of our books. We were getting to the editing stage and I was so excited. I would wake up in the middle of the night and I had an idea and I'd get up and I'd type it and I was happy. And my heart started skipping beats. And we went to the doctor and they said, he said, you're really under stress. I said, no, I'm happy. He said, well, you may think you're happy, but you're under stress. And your heart is showing it. And then I needed to go on heart medicine for a while. And I found that really irritating. I didn't want that, especially since it had sexual side effects. It was like, oh, that's unfair. Not only am I stressed, now I'm not even orgasmic. So I found that my thought process could be different than the reality.
Oh, that sounds like for me also, like, yeah, I think I sometimes have an agenda.
Well, if you only sometimes have an agenda, you're way ahead of the rest of humanity. Because we seem to always have an agenda,
Yeah.
I'm sorry that your husband is in quarantine. Did he have COVID recently?
He has at the moment, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He's sick. But he's well. Like he doesn't feel too bad, but he's in bed a lot. And for some reason, it makes it easy for me to connect to him, like when he's a bit weaker.
Yes. He's more vulnerable.
Yeah, and it's very.
So
I
you
don't want
like
to
it,
say I
huh?
like it, but it makes it easy for me to take care of him, because it's just it
Yeah,
touches
he's
me.
too weak to resist you.
But you know, it's interesting.
You don't like that, but you know, you have very strong willed, you know.
I love it in a way. It supported you in being more vulnerable too, because he didn't have the energy to fight with you over cake. You had to slow down and listen and really hear it, because he wasn't going to be able to
Hey,
push you for it.
You know, if he doesn't feel good and a piece of cake sounds good to him, that's the best medicine. I don't care what the doctors say. You know, I know sugar isn't supposedly good for you, but sometimes I need a little. Sometimes he needs a little.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to surrender to what he wants. Not succumb, not do it and complain that you have to, but do it like it's your idea.
Which sounds like you did. You're like, oh, he asked for cake, and you drop everything and you went out and you found something lovely that you loved, he loved it. You know, you could have just gotten some for him, but it sounds like you gave yourself that gift.
Yeah, and I saw that I enjoyed it. That
Yeah,
was
well, that's good. You know, you need to be kind to yourself. Because you stay somewhere you think you could have done something to keep him from getting COVID. If you're a better wife.
She would have insisted he wears masks more, or washed his hands more.
Something like that, yes.
Oh. That didn't occur to me, but maybe.
Maybe, yes. See, it may not have occurred to you, but you beat on yourself in your thoughts.
And part of how you beat on yourself is by beating on him. Because if I found this, when I'm well in myself, again, we're talking about the happiness glasses. You're wearing a pair of glasses. If I'm well in myself and I turn my head and I'm looking through the lens of contentment to Shya, who happens to be the one who's closest in proximity to me most of the time, and also the person I am very vulnerable with, I turn my contentment glasses and I'm content. If I ever have nasty, catty, or less than kind thoughts to Shya, about Shya, I realize it's like, oh, I'm upset. What's wrong? What am I working on in myself? Because it's never about him. It's always about me. It's about my relationship to myself that extends to him.
Mm. Yeah.
Which was really fun. Some time ago, I went and visited my dad and my sister, and it was really fun to discover myself as content with her, that I wasn't forming opinions for or against her lifestyle. I just let myself enjoy her. And same with my father, who has dementia. So there were moments where he was lucid and moments where he was sleepy or sleeping. And there wasn't a whole lot of in between. And to be able to be with what is, rather than opine to myself about whether or not I like it, is just so relieving.
Yeah, that I can see it and feel it when you say that. Yeah.
And the thing is that I didn't work to reach that state, I noticed that state. And it's really lovely because I think a lot of us, when we...
But it's a coexistent state, you see. Wellness is right with you all the time, but you can only focus on one thing at a time. And if you are focused on what you don't like, that's what your life becomes about. And if you allow that stuff that you think ought to be different to be the way it is, then it gives you the possibility of something else showing up in your life rather than a complaint about what is.
It's interesting. We're talking to you, and I've been looking at you, looking in your eyes, and I forgot that you have this lovely background. And when I look at the lovely background, you go out of focus. And so it was like, oh, yes, there's that background again. I think sometimes, if you really invest in where you are, you forget all of those complaints that might be existent. But if you focus on them, the moment becomes indistinct.
Well, that's the second principle. No two things can occupy you at the same time. So if your attention is on what you think you want, that's where you are stuck. And if your attention is on where you are, then you're not stuck at all, because the moment keeps opening.
And flowing.
A new possibility keeps showing up. But as soon as you resist something, then that's all there is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This
This is what?
This is good to hear because it's so close. I mean, it's not work to do. It's just there. As you said, Shya, just well-being is all the time existing. It's just, I understood, it's like you have to open the curtain sometimes to not see only the complaint.
Well, I when I'm looking at you, you look a little narrow, almost like a person who hasn't been eating enough, and they look a little emaciated. And I'm not talking about physically. It's like you can get lost in where you think you need to get to, for instance, in your business.
Yeah.
Or you can celebrate you here, now. And then when you turn to the computer and you're working on projects for your business, it's a celebration rather than someday when I get there, I will get fed.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Thanks for being with us on this anniversary edition of being here.
Thank you. It's my honor to have been part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's that time.
The time for what?
Our listener feedback spotlight.
What is that?
Well, I'm so proud of the people who listen to this show. And now we get to hear from one or more of them about what's happening in their lives with transformation by listening to this podcast and
what they've discovered about life, what they've discovered about their lives, that they are experiencing fun in their lives.
And that they want to share it with you.
Yeah.
This is Sabina speaking from Switzerland, Schwanden. And transformation made easy is for me a really good possibility to fall in the moment and have connection with the people around the world, but also with the people who are really close to me. And it makes my life more easy. And that's really great.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shya's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
You are invited to join us for a Living Made Easy seminar. We had the opportunity to see Micah. You could see Micah and other wonderful people from this community and include yourself in being part of it at our Living Made Easy seminars. We have one coming up on Saturday and then one on Monday evening. You can check out the times in your time zone. We often have people from across the world, like Hong Kong or from Australia, Malaysia. You can,
Switzerland.
whatever your time zone is, there's likely one of these that will work for you. Our
And you can
weekend,
even stay up late or get up early.
yes, shout out to Ursula, who regularly comes to a Monday night.
Or
When it's midnight her time, then goes and teaches brilliantly the next day. So
Cheryl, who tunes in from Hong Kong, 12 hours difference in time.
our upcoming weekend seminar, if you want to deep dip into the brilliance of being you, is on the theme of new beginnings. A little less than a month from now, June 11th and 12th.
And then we have creativity and intuition.
At the end of July.
Yes,
July
July
5th.
30th and 31st.
And before we take our next guest, one more shout out to Susan, who is the person who suggested this particular theme for this episode. We're having fun with it. We appreciate your partnership and we're sending you love. All right,
Let's do it.
let's take Adam. Welcome to being here, Adam. Where are you zooming in from?
Hi, I'm zooming in from Manhattan, New York.
You know, it's kind of like a full circle. When you first were on our podcast, were you still living in your parents' home? You were a teenager, or were you already off in college yet?
Yes, you're correct. I was in high school. I was thinking about this morning, so you're syncing up with me because I have this memory of around like 14 years ago calling into the radio show during lunch in high school on a lawn, and the theme was life is not a dress rehearsal. And I felt like you were shaking me to wake up, even though it was over the phone. And I'm
Well,
so
yeah,
thankful.
because in high school and in college, there's that myth that you're preparing for later life rather than that is your life.
Right. It's always like, oh, next year will be the year, or when I
When I
graduate.
get there, then life will begin.
Right.
And I'm also recalling some amazing times we had with you when you were in college and you were fighting studying and you had roommate issues and
Yeah.
other challenges.
Drinking problems too. Yeah. What was it? I was drinking too much when I got to college, and I stopped drinking. I haven't drank in like 13 years ago. It was like 13 years ago.
That's pretty
Wow,
amazing.
good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recall you talking about that. And that was such a perfect example of instantaneous transformation. You didn't work on it, you just saw the truth of it.
And
then
it was over.
And you stepped into what was next, which for you, some people can tolerate alcohol just fine. And others of us, it doesn't work. And
It works in that it produces what we need at the time.
Oblivion.
Exactly. If life is too painful, or the idea of life is too painful, people turn to drugs or alcohol to quell the pain. But the reality is it's only painful when you resist what is.
Yeah. What was it? I think that it was like I was just uncomfortable in those social settings, and I thought I needed the alcohol to make me comfortable, but I would just drink until I was a mess, and then I wouldn't need to be in the social setting at all. I just needed to go home or a toilet.
Well, that was the point of it.
I'm recalling one time you said something that stuck with me for all these years, Adam. You realized that it wasn't just enough for you to stop drinking. You realized that when you went into social setting, you shouldn't even pick up one of those red plastic Dixie cups that people drink in, because it cued you into that desire to do something destructive. And I always found that to be very mature is not the word. It's like, wow,
Savvy.
how savvy that you can see that about yourself and just not go there.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate what I learned here, because it wasn't hard. I never decided to stop drinking. I just looked at the moment when a drink was presented to me and I just said no. And I just felt the intensity of, being uncomfortable in those settings.
Well, if you just felt the intensity of feeling uncomfortable, then eventually it completed itself.
Yeah.
When you resist feeling uncomfortable by, for instance, drinking or using dope, then you get stuck with those emotions that you've tried to avoid. Because anything you resist, you get stuck with.
So I have a question. When you go into a social situation now, do you have that intensity of discomfort, or is it just largely a part of the rest of your life?
It's not intense like it used to be. I feel much more comfortable being like, I'm okay. Like I'm gonna make it, if that's what came up to me for.
You know what Shya said earlier? He said, we've already made it. You've already been successful. Just a reminder, it's not even I'm going to make it. You already have. So.
Yeah. Well, it's something you said on this. What? Yeah.
Dude. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Something Shya said on this call was about how things just work out. They have worked out. They're going to work out. And
there's nothing you can do about it. You see, that's the big thing. Everybody thinks they can do something to, well, here's the problem. The problem is people look into their cultural background for what they think is important and what will make them happy or satisfied. And the culture is based in commercialism. It's based in buying and selling. It's getting more different, better stuff, more computers, more this, more that, more toys. But those things have never produced satisfaction in people.
Yeah.
See, and if you're satisfied, you can really get a lot of pleasure out of your toys.
I agree. I hear what you're saying. I always like buying the new phone or the new computer.
Yes, you do.
But I get pleasure when I'm here, but not just.
One of the things I've noticed about you, because for one thing, I know that you worked for a while at the Apple Store, and so many of us go to you as our tech guru genius when we have questions, and that you've always had a fascination for what's next. But there's something I've noticed. I've never heard you complaining about what is. If you have say an iPhone, and its camera, the next iteration is going to have a new camera, a better camera, or it'll be faster speeds. I don't hear you going, oh, well, this one is slow, to justify getting the new one. You just are passionate about what you have, and then the passion moves on.
You're right. I actually was talking to a friend who got a quote unquote older phone, or a lesser iPhone. And they were like, is there any iPhone that you don't like? I'm like, no, there's always something beautiful about it. There's always something to appreciate. Like I open that phone up and I like see things that mine doesn't have. And I'm like jealous a little bit. I see the value in it.
What, that when you have things,
Well, oh, when I was looking at well, some people may know Zoe, she got a new iPhone, but this is like an iPhone that's like an iPhone 8, but it's upgraded. It's called the iPhone SE. It's a lower cost iPhone. And so it uses your thumbprint instead of your face. And it's gorgeous. It's really pretty. And it just takes me back, because that was what most people had a few years ago. And this is like an upgraded iteration of it.
Well, as you say that, people upgrade their iPhones.
Mm-hmm.
Are they any happier?
No.
See, that's the thing. The technology, the advances in technology are amazing, but there's no commensurate increase in well-being or satisfaction from the material possession. If you're well in yourself, it's great. If you're not well in yourself, no matter how great the gadget is, you're still a mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really about allowing yourself to be okay. And that's the problem. Most of us have a deep program of complaint about ourselves and that we're not doing enough or doing it right or doing it right enough to be okay.
I mean, look at this. If it really was 14 years ago or 13, whenever, when you were in high school, that you went out on the lawn and were investing in being here, no wonder you enjoy work when you're there. Because then when you got into a wider social situation in college and you had roommates and friends who were waiting during college to get out, you kept reseating yourself in the moment, and that this is your life, not someday when the test is over. This is your life. This is your time. Right now is your time. And 5 minutes from now, when you reach out, that will be your time, not someday and not back when. And your investment in yourself is, if I was wearing a hat, I'd go hats off to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's been really great.
Well, you have made the investment in what produces well-being, and that's yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're expecting something outside you to fix things, it doesn't work out too well.
You know, the thing is, you found us through your mother.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty neat that you know, most kids go through a period of time where they resent their parents. Some people never grow out of it. That you were willing to allow her to support you and offer something that has had so much deep meaning for you and has changed the trajectory of your life. There's something pretty amazing that you allow your parents to be that supportive of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I was still a kid, so there was like a fight in me, but there was just like this tingle that this was actually the way when I came to your first Monday night, it felt like eating spinach. like you know, when you're a kid, you're like, you're supposed to eat your vegetables. It's good for you. There was something that I knew was good for me, and that made me want to keep coming. Even though
Popeye likes
I want to give it to my mom. Yeah, exactly. Popeye likes spinach. Does that make sense? There was a.
But you know, truthfully, for me now, if I were offered, you know, I know we just had the cake conversation, which is great that Micah allowed her husband to have cake. But in general, I prefer vegetables. I love them. So
Yeah.
I'm not particularly. I don't mind compared to spinach.
Yeah, I feel like I had to give the background because I don't think of spinach or vegetables as like a bad thing anymore.
Not something you're made to do, it's something you want to do.
Yeah. And I mean, my relationship with my parents and my mom from going to this, she's like my friend. We're so alike, and I appreciate that about her instead of fight it.
Nice.
Congratulations.
That's sweet.
Thank
So I know
you.
we're just having a winding conversation, which is totally fine with us. I'm just wondering if you had any questions or anything you wanted to address today before we.
Sure. I feel like, you guys talk about taking the attention off yourself is like a great way to like listening and being here. And I've seen how that's really been helpful for me when I'm with people. And recently I feel like when I'm alone recently, I've been in my thoughts and believing all the things that I should do, shouldn't do, and just creating a spiral of working on myself. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Is there a question?
Oh, yeah. Well, the question is just like, what do you guys do when you're alone to stay centered?
Well, it's very interesting. Ariel left this past week to go to Oregon to visit her father, who is 95 years old and has dementia and such. And I was left with my thoughts. So I just noticed them and got interested in seeing where they went, rather than thought I shouldn't have these thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, as you're describing your getting lost in the whirlpool of the thoughts that
The
happen,
process.
I can actually see as you're describing your eyes stop focusing. You're like looking in middle space. It's as if you're looking to the thoughts. It's as simple as engaging your eyes in your environment. There's always things to accomplish.
The other thing is this, Adam, you're not your thoughts. They run automatically. They're like music, they're elevator music. And sometimes they're more dramatic.
I also find that my
Flight of the Valkyries.
Yes, my thoughts often reflect the environment I've recently been immersed in.
Okay.
And so
That makes
if
sense.
you're by yourself and you're looking at your thoughts and you're troubled by them, that's almost a waste. It's like not recognizing you are never alone.
Mhm. Okay.
You live in an apartment building, you have people around you, you have people you've been investing in, you have people you're about to see or connect with via Zoom. And if you recognize, as Shai said, your thoughts aren't you, you're going to see the subtle changes in the flow of your thoughts depending on what's happening in your life.
The other thing is this. When I drive, I listen to music from time to time. And recently I've been listening to the Beatles. And it's amazing how Beatles songs then play in my head. They're like thoughts.
So I'll walk into the room and he'll go, I want to hold your hand. He may not, but it's like it's playing.
Yeah.
He heard it.
And that takes me back to when I was in college 50, 60 years ago. I mean, in an instant, I'm back with who I was dating when I heard that song.
Yeah.
You're reactive. You're reactive to the universe you're in. You have automatic reactions that take you away. But you also can bring yourself back to the current moment.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And that's the gift that you can, that you can, so you can have thoughts that are weird and leave them alone.
Yeah.
I have a potentially inaccurate observation about you, but this is what my impression, at least. You come to the Living Made Easies not only when your schedule permits, because I know you're a busy person, but I believe you come from time to time when you think you need it. And I don't know that you give it to yourself in those times when you I just don't know that you recognize that your presence itself has something to offer.
Mhm.
And when I went to visit my sister and my dad, the thing that I was most aware of was the impact my presence made on my environment. It wasn't what I did. It wasn't what I said. It wasn't what I bought us for dinner or the activities we did. I became aware that who I am matters. It makes a difference. And I think from time to time, you forget that you make a difference. And so you tune in and go, gosh, do I need this tonight? Rather than, oh, somebody needs me tonight.
Mm. Yeah, that was not potentially inaccurate. That's true. Thank you.
I mean, not that you're obligated to give anything, but I think from time to time you forget who you are.
Yeah, yeah, I do.
You
And
know
I,
what that makes you?
what?
Normal.
Normal
Human.
being.
Thank you guys so much. And
Thank you.
congrats on 15 years.
Yes, you know, we were talking about it. It feels like, and I can't remember when we weren't doing this podcast. And
Yeah.
50 years sounds like a long time, but it was like a
Blink of the eye.
Yeah.
Well,
Same here.
thanks for coming in, celebrating with us.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, if you want to be a guest or submit a listener spotlight, those little lovely vignettes in the middle of our podcast where people talk about their experience of transformation or the podcast or our books or the seminars, you're welcome to do that. You can just go to transformationmadeeasy.com/being here and find out how. And you can also go there to find out how to be a guest as well and add your voice like Adam or Micah. Next week's episode
Is?
heritage. Should be interesting.
It should be.
We're gonna have fun.
We'll have to figure out what it means between now and then.
No, you won't. You'll just be there. We'll read the description and it'll be like, oh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, life is obvious when you're here for it.
Yes.
We'll be back next week.
So come on back.
And don't miss
Being
being here.